Hey guys, Homestead and 31 here, and today we're going to talk about how to provide basic first aid and CPR to your pets and livestock. Livestock being chickens, because that's all we have at the moment. But I do have a cool story to share with you guys. So we'll get started here. A good thing to have would be distilled water. You can see we have some of that here. Next would be alcohol or your peroxide, and the best one, I think, depending on your situation, especially if there's broken skin, cuts, abrasions, things of that nature, would be your chlorhexidine solution, also known as Hibiclens or even betadine. That's usually what is used for pre-op for humans. So if that tells you how clean it'll get your patient. Coban, this can be found pretty cheap at Tractor Supply or Walmart. Walgreens sometimes has a buy one, get one 50% off. Another good thing to have, especially if you have horses or if you have any joint injuries or you need to secure things. Numb Master is a great numbing cream. I actually got this on Amazon. It's a cream, so you have to apply it using something like a Q-tip, which I have a couple of these right here. Q-tips are a great thing to have on hand so that you can apply different ointments or medications if needed. Speaking of that, we have some of this here. So I picked this up at the local Tractor Supply, and what this is, it's kind of like an antibiotic gel. We actually got this in the horse section, and this is just a great infection preventative. Next, we have surgical dressing. So this would be good if you have to do regular wound care on an animal. It's not going to stick to the injury or anything like that. It should come away pretty easily. Next, we have compression gauze or bandage. So this would be for a very traumatic injury where there's a lot of bleeding. So this I got on Amazon. It has the handy instructions on the back and shows you how to wrap it effectively depending on your injury. So this is super handy. And then going along with that, we have our tourniquet. So this actually came out of an old IFAC that I was issued while I was still in the Army, see the date there. Super handy to have on hand. Tourniquets are very important to help control hemorrhaging or fast bleeding. Really anything can be a tourniquet though. You can use a belt, you can use a piece of fabric, torn shirt, anything you have on hand to, slow that bleeding down. Another thing I have here is a basic medical student dissecting kit. So I thought and hoped that I would never really need this. However, I'm glad I had it because we came into a situation this past weekend where I needed it. So this has basically everything you would find in a surgeon's office. All your tools, everything. Hopefully nobody will ever need one of these, but it's good to have it and know you have it in hand. It was pretty cheap on Amazon. Something you should always consider for your aid bag or aid kit is lighting. So here I have a headlamp. It keeps your hands free, and if you're on your own trying to help your animal, then you need all the hands you can get. So this is great to have as a resource for light. Hand care, so cleaning your own hands. We've all become very familiar with these things over the last couple of years. So these I was able to score on clearance at my local grocery store. Super handy to have in your aid bag. Again, more on the stopping bleeding. So easy little remedies here. This is Quick Stop. It is a powder, aerosol powder that you just spray at the site of the bleed. This would be great for in place of a Band-Aid if you don't have one. And so nothing too serious with that. Another thing you can pick up at Walmart pretty cheap is Bleed Stop. This is in the camping section. This is good for, again, minor injuries, and you just sprinkle this over and it should seal up the bleeding. And you'll want to apply a dressing just to be able to apply pressure to make sure that the bleeding stops. Okay guys, so now I'm gonna bring out, oh, sorry, forgot about the liquid skin here. So super glue is super handy, and you're all about to see why. I learned a new purpose for super glue. This is great for sealing up cracked skin, minor cuts. It's basically the same thing as liquid skin. This I was able to score at the dollar store for $1, and it is totally invaluable is what I learned the last couple of days. So it's great for cracks, cuts, abrasions, things of that nature that don't require a whole lot of intervention. Super handy to have on hand. And then I have gloves. These are not sterile gloves, but gloves, regardless of their sterility, are better to have than, you know, using dirty hands. So I just have plain nitrile gloves here. There's a lot of latex allergies around there, so I just try to stick to nitrile gloves myself, or vinyl. And you can get them pretty cheap at Walmart or even on Amazon. All right, guys, so I'm gonna take a break here and I will come back with my first guest. Hey guys, we're back. So let me introduce you to Tortellini. Tortellini, we picked her up off the road on Sunday, and so we're 3 days out. And Tortellini, we regularly stop to move turtles out of traffic just because, I mean, they're turtles. So that was the case here. On our trip back, we made a U-turn to go back and move her out of the road. She was actually struck by oncoming traffic. Not by us, oncoming traffic. So unfortunately, she ended up with a pretty traumatically cracked shell. Her shell, as you can see from here, this was one piece that was broken again, and then here we had another piece that was broken, and all of this around the side was totally broken. She did have quite a bit of bleeding, and then over here, so you can see she has a very large break, and right there you can see she's missing a whole side of her armor here. So what we did was, after we kind of were shell-shocked ourselves, we moved her to the side of the road. We did a lot of research and calling around, and ultimately decided to pack her up in a box and bring her home to provide the best care that we could reasonably provide. So what I want to say here is I am not a veterinarian. I do not recommend going out and rescuing wild animals. Obviously, never do anything that you are not comfortable doing yourself, and always seek out professional medical help when needed. So what we did was we contacted numerous turtle rescue groups, wildlife rescue groups, and we are just too rural for them to get to us to get her to a turtle rescue. So what I ended up doing was I performed a total shell repair with my handy dandy super glue, like I was just showing you guys a few minutes ago. So the super glue actually was the first bonding agent that we applied to her shell, and that helped us put the pieces back together and kind of hold them in place. Then what we did was, as you can kind of see, it's shiny. We actually applied a coat of resin over the super glue, and just to, you know, provide better structural integrity She does kind of want to move around a little. So we did that. Her shell is not watertight, obviously, because we have this gaping hole right here. So we have kept her in a dry enclosed space. And last night, we actually needed to apply some of this bleed stop. Turtles have vascular shells, and so she was bleeding again, and I busted open the bleed stop and applied a little bit around her where she was bleeding from her shell, and that helped stop the bleeding. And then we were able to come back with the new skin sealer and seal it up completely. So this stuff right here. And so she has stopped bleeding from that area, which is great. And she seems to be doing pretty good. Like I said, she's 3 days out and grumpy, as to be expected, but she's doing great, drinking water, and eyes are bright and pretty alert. So to control infection, because I haven't been able to locate a turtle or a reptile vet close to me, I have been giving her a bath once a day with the chlorhexidine solution. In my research, I actually saw that this can be used for shell rot. So that's kind of all we can do to control infection, that and flushing this hole right here with saline solution. This is great for cleaning all wounds and just keeping bacteria and dirt and grit out. And then also, as you can see over here, I have my distilled water with Tortellini's shell or syringe in there. So funny story on how she got her name. I was actually texting my stepson, and my phone auto-corrected turtle to Tortellini. So that's where she got her name. But I will say, had I not had all of these things on hand, I would not have felt confident helping this little turtle out. Granted, she's not one of our farm animals, not a pet, but she, to me, was worth the risk in saving. She had about an 85% survival odd with a complete shell repair, so I felt like those were good enough odds. And following, the instructions from the vet up in Birmingham, I was able to kind of accomplish this here. So hopefully I'll be able to update you guys on Tortellini's progress. But now we're going to move on to our pets. Okay, so now we're going to talk about dog CPR and choking. So here we have Flower, and she's excited because she's on the counter. So what we're going to do here is, Flower is a small dog. She's about 9 pounds, 10 pounds. She's a miniature Aussie. So she's going to help us demo our little dog CPR. So Flower, all you have to do is be a dog. And now we're going to see if we can get her to lay on one side or another. Okay, so we have Flower on her side here. And what she's going to do is show us where to perform our chest compressions on a small dog. So what you do is you take their arm and you follow their elbow, and it will point you to where their heart is when you bend it back. So Flower, you'll do your chest compressions about here on a small dog, but always do the elbow method so you can figure out where the heart is. But you'll begin performing your chest compressions here. Okay, so now we have Bear, and Bear is a little bit larger than Flower. He's well over double her size. Again, another Aussie. So where you would want to do his chest compressions for CPR would be in this area on his body. So you would press down here. It's a little different for small dogs. You would do it over their heart. Oh no, Bear, you died. But again, you want them in the side lying position, and again, you'll perform your chest compressions on a larger dog right here. Bear. Okay, we don't have any cooperative cats around, so I'm going to show you how to do this on a cat. So what you'll look for is similar to a small dog. You'll take the leg and bend the elbow back to find the heart, and that's where you'll do your chest compressions on a cat. Okay, so now we're gonna walk through the whole process, since now you know where to perform your chest compressions. So first, what you'll do when you come upon your unconscious doggy or cat is try to wake them up. Hey puppy, hey puppy, hey puppy, hey puppy. And then when you find that your pet is not responding to these attempts to wake them up, you don't have to stop and check for a pulse. That's just going to waste time, and time is of the essence right now. Lay the animal, like I said, on its left or right side. It doesn't matter. Now for big dogs, you will perform your chest compressions over the highest point of the chest. For small dogs and cats, you'll perform directly over the heart, and you'll use the two-hand technique. So the best way to do the two-hand technique is to make a fan or jazz hand with your left hand and take your right hand and interlace your fingers over it, just as you would for a person. Then you're going to place that over the spot where you do your chest compressions, and you will lock your elbows, so your elbows will stay locked the whole time. And you will bend at the waist. Bending at the waist, you will perform your chest compressions, and your elbows will stay locked the entire time. And you will keep doing your chest compressions at a rate of 30 beats per minute for animals, and then you will provide a breath. So when you breathe into the animal, you will cup your hand around their snout or face, if it's a cat, and hold their mouth closed so that you don't lose any of your breath through their mouth. And then you will breathe with your mouth through their nose. And then you will go back to providing your chest compressions. So you will provide chest compressions for at least 2 minutes with one breath every 30 beats, and you will breathe through the snout, and you will allow the chest in between compressions to fully recoil. And your chest compressions will need to go as deep as 1/3 to 1/2 of the chest width. So as wide as the chest is, it'll need to compress at least halfway. And then you'll want to allow it to fully re-expand. After 2 minutes, you'll do a recheck, see if there's any sporadic breaths being taken by your dog, if there's any alertness, any trying to move around or breathe. If not, then you will attempt to do CPR for another 2 minutes. During this time, if you have someone around, have them call a local vet and see if you can get some help. Okay, now we're gonna go over what to do if your dog is choking. So Bear here is not choking, but we're gonna act like he is. So what you would do is you might hear them coughing, hacking. Obviously dogs don't typically cough up hairballs, so you'll know something is up. But what you'll do is you will try to restrain your doggy so that he can't get away. And you will do a forefinger and thumb finger sweep of their mouth. Obviously, as you can see, you don't want to leave your hand hanging out in their mouth because, you know, if they're panicked, they'll bite you. He's just biting me to be a jerk because he's a puppy. If you don't see anything obvious or feel anything obvious, then what you will do is, if he were a smaller dog, like this guy, you would grab him by the thighs and hold them upside down and shake, and hopefully that'll dislodge whatever is in them. For a bigger dog, don't bite the patient, you will actually lift him up in a wheelbarrow position and shake, and hopefully that will dislodge whatever is in there. Bear is just confused. So should all of that fail, what you'll do is you will make a fist with your hands and put it under the dog's, if you can tell, it kind of comes up right here. So you'll put your fist under there, and then you will go upward toward the abdominal cavity. And that is basically the dog version of a Heimlich maneuver. With a cat, you would treat it like a small dog. So again, that would be picking it up and doing bear and doing a shake on him to dislodge whatever is stuck in their throat. Always try to follow up with a vet if possible. Obviously, if this is a worst case scenario where there isn't services around, that's kind of a different story. But always try to follow up with a medical professional when you can. So next we're gonna move outside to our chickens. Okay, so here we have our chicken. We decided to demo on this guy first so that we don't stress out our own chickens doing a whole talk about it. So I feel the most common injuries for a chicken are a broken wing or a broken leg. So we're gonna address those issues. So again, you'll notice I have a couple of different things here. I have the Coban and also I have a baby onesie. And that's not just because I have a whole bunch of kids. So we're gonna go over a couple of techniques here. I'm going to cut the bottom off of this onesie and you guys are about to see why. Okay, so our chicken here has a broken wing. How you'll know if your chicken has a broken wing is usually their wings will be up and tucked in when they're walking around, chicken in and out. But if their wing is broken or injured, it will hang down. It won't recoil into its natural resting position. So our chicken here has a broken wing. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the injured wing and we're going to put it back into that natural position and we're going to secure it to the chicken's body. Now you don't have to tie down the other wing necessarily, that might just bother the chicken, but you do wanna make sure that the broken wing is secured to a stable part of the body. So what we're gonna do first is we are going to do the wrap technique using Coban. So I love Coban. As I said earlier, you can get it for pretty cheap at the hardware store and it's easy to change out should you need to change it. So what you're gonna do is take the chicken's wing, make sure it is snug against the body. You definitely don't want to wrap this too tightly. And then you are going to wrap around the chicken's body and avoid, if you can at all, wrapping up the feet. Obviously the chicken is not going to agree with that. So you'll want to wrap your chicken wing just until it is secure against the chicken's body and it can heal, in an appropriate way here. So now I'm going to show you another technique that I learned. If you want to make it really easy, you can take a baby onesie if you got any extra kids running around, and you can slip it over the chicken's head. Now size will probably vary. This is a large chicken. This is a 3 to 6 month onesie, and you slide it over, and again it holds that broken wing in place. And now this method will involve covering both wings up, which is fine if your chicken tolerates it. And it also keeps the legs free so you don't have to worry about wrapping around the legs. So with this method, you get the wing secured. It's much more straightforward, much easier to accomplish. Another thing you want to consider is not having things dangling off your chicken. The other chickens may pick on it or peck at it, and we definitely don't want that. So you may consider even cutting these little sleeves off, or just tucking them in. If you're really crafty, you can sew them. But anyway, so this is how you would bind a chicken wing. And with a leg, you would do something similar. You would have it in its natural position and either recoil to the body. You can try and splint it if you like, but from what I have researched, most of the time it's going to be just a wrap and secure it and send the chicken on its way, basically. So this is how you would wrap a chicken stuffed animal, and now we'll go out and show you how we would do this with our real birds. One of our bantam chicks. We have small chickens, so what I've done to demo the wing fastening is I actually took a sock and I cut the toe off and I cut the heel off. And, oh no, Chicky. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna show how to do this on one of your live birds. So, we're just going to slip it over her head. There we go. And bring it down over her wings. Now again, this will secure both wings. And then we will just fold this little edge over because it was a little too long. And there you go. I also realized doing this that this is a great way to do anything with your chickens. If you require giving them medicine or fixing any other injuries they may have, this is a great way to secure their wings, because as you can tell, she immediately calms down. She would be calmer if the dogs weren't being jerks. But she calms down and she doesn't have the ability to flap around and freak out. So this is our little demo chick, and hopefully you guys learned something from all of this. Okay guys, so I hope that none of us ever need to use these techniques or tips, but hopefully today you guys have learned something about your pets and something that you can use to help your pets. Again, as I said, I am not a licensed veterinarian or anything of that nature. I was medevac in the Army, and these are some trainings and some tips and additional education that I decided to get in order to make myself a more educated and better pet parent and homesteader. So hopefully you guys have been able to pick up some helpful tips. I strongly encourage everyone to take a pet CPR and first aid class. Those are available for reasonably cheap through the American Red Cross, which is where I learned some of my CPR and first aid techniques for animals, and they are even available online. So head out and be safe with your pets and your livestock, and a happy spring and production season to all. Stay survived out there and come back for more. Thank you for watching.